Hey, Megan, how are you?
I'm great.
It's so good to see you. I know this feels really different today, doesn't it? I just want to say thank you before we get started and talking about kindness for even agreeing to share about some of the things you talked about in therapy. How are you feeling so far?
Good.
You feeling good?
A little cold.
A little cold?
But
okay.
It's freezing outside, so it's fine.
Okay.
But
I see
overall,
you got a
good.
little kindness on your sweater there.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I like Ellen, and she sells these,
All
and
right.
so I purchased one, and I was, it was suggested to wear a t-shirt today, but it's cold, and I wanted to be warm.
That's what they told you.
And I thought that this would be the perfect sweater to wear today.
Did they also tell you you'd be required to dance like you were on the show of Ellen?
No, but she doesn't dance anymore, so.
Okay, all they do is this. Got it. Joke over my head. Listen, let's talk about therapy a little bit and what it was like for you. You know, It's been a while since we met. Had you been in therapy before?
Yes.
You had been.
When I was younger, maybe age 12.
Okay, so in comes John. Now we're meeting. What was your first impressions? And yes, you can be honest. Not brutally, but honest.
Well, I mean, I saw your picture on the website.
Okay.
So I already kind of knew, I think. Your smile was welcoming, and so that's what I expected. And I specifically wanted a male. I think I just feel more comfortable talking about personal things with male counselors for some reason. Don't know why. But I liked your energy. It was definitely very calm and welcoming and friendly, very happy. I don't know what I was expecting, but I think if I had an office, I wouldn't emit that same energy. Like, I think my own personality is very different than yours.
Yes.
But that's why it works.
Okay. I'm learning that now because I know that was maybe a little uncomfortable.
It was something to get used to, yeah. But it worked.
So you had been in therapy at 12 years old, right? Okay, so you meet me and you're saying it was a little different, right? When did you know sort of, okay, I've been in therapy when I was 12. I've probably done some research about therapy, but what moment did you realize, okay, this is a little different?
Therapy was different, or
with you and I. At what moment did you realize, okay, this therapy feels a little different
than the one that I did when I was a kid?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think a big part of it feeling different was just the fact that I was at two very different ages. You know, when you're age 12 and your mother takes you to therapy, you might go in with a different mindset. Do I really have to do this?
Right.
Whereas with you, I chose to come, and I sought you out. You know. And so it felt different in the way that, you know, this was something I chose. And again, I think as therapy continued, it got easier, and we were more familiar with each other's personalities, and I started seeing more positive differences, and I started seeing how those positive differences were actually really good for the therapy and would give me, you know, a new perspective on things that maybe I was told when I was 12, I now see differently because it was presented to me in a different way.
Well, let's go back and revisit something really important.
Okay.
You were talking about you chose therapy this time. To my understanding, it was not an easy choice. Do you mind sharing what you came to work on initially?
Yeah, if I can remember. I mean, the main thing that motivated me to come to therapy now was that I just gotten back from a really intense service year, and I had lots of new changes. You know, I needed to find a place to live, needed a new job, and I was going to start school again. And I think it became really overwhelming, and that resulted in some panic attacks and feelings of anxiety that I hadn't felt since I was in high school and before.
Let's just be clear, because the way you're stating it, I think some people are going to miss it.
Yeah.
You were experiencing several life transitions at one time.
Yeah.
And are you saying, like, on a daily basis, you were having anxiety to the point that you were having panic attacks?
Yeah.
Like, how many in a day or in a week?
Well, it for me, it starts like a period of anxiety can start for me with a really random, incident, something very normal. I think this happens with a lot of people. And then that feeling of anxiety, you have your initial panic attack and you bring yourself down a little bit. You get to your safe place. For me, that happened to be my mother's house at the time.
Okay.
Because I hadn't found a place yet. So, I was at my mom's house, finally got calm, but like that feeling of anxiety is still there. I don't know,
Yeah. So
it's hard to
let me see if I have
explain.
this right. Not only were you going through several life transitions at the same time, and your body was responding with anxiety and panic attacks, you also made a choice to choose therapy.
Right, because
That's a lot, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, new relationship, new therapist, new routine. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, you must have thought then, who is this John Diggs guy talking about kindness can help you with anxiety? Like, did you frown or go, what is this man talking about?
I'd say mostly no.
Okay.
I did not frown.
You didn't frown? Okay.
Because I had been doing my own research.
Yes.
And, collecting all of these coping skills that I either heard from friends or that I researched on the internet, as well as whatever the therapist had told me years ago.
Okay.
And so I figured, I've got my little box of tools and, I took it and they didn't work. And so I figured, it's time for a second opinion.
Okay.
It can't hurt to go, ask someone else and go to therapy again, instead of just talking to friends or
but I get this this toolbox that you've had. Let's start there. Tell me more about this toolkit and this research you had around anxiety.
So I'm very logical.
Okay.
I always have been. And I figured that, when I was younger, the therapist had said something that really resonated, which was that the anxiety is just a false alarm in your brain. And that seemed that was very logical to me. Like, my brain is just confused. It's associated this as being something bad when it's completely normal.
Right.
And so...
But that's very different than mainspring approach saying all of you is welcome.
Right.
Because we're saying, in some ways, anxiety or the response of anxiety is protecting you or has a protective nature to it. So false response versus protective nature. I guess what I'm trying to understand is, how did the idea of all of you is welcome, how did that interrupt this research or this box of coping skills?
Well, I mean, like I said before, I think you and I are very different personalities. And so that idea was new to me.
It was new.
Because your idea, I don't know, was more kind than the previous therapist's idea, and she definitely was pushing the logic and you definitely pushed, kindness.
Yeah.
That's what your underlying thing was, and so I had always tried to, one, because of the previous therapy, and two, because I'm logical, tried to always research the things that might resonate with the logical part of myself.
Sure.
And so your methods and your ideas were new and different, but mine clearly haven't worked, which is why I was so open.
Sure.
To at least trying.
Yeah.
The worst that's going to happen is it also doesn't work.
So my understanding is, and I think you sort of articulated, the idea was to manage the anxiety.
Right.
To develop skills to manage it.
Yeah.
Where the mainspring approach is saying, well, what would happen if we just decided to make anxiety our ally?
Right.
Make it a friend opposed to this opposition thing. And what was very insightful for me was for you to have a change moment and seeing anxiety as saying, maybe this is a protective experience I'm having with it. Does that still resonate with you, that anxiety was saying, okay, chaos is happening, but also maybe I've become quite capable in managing chaos? Mm-hmm. Did that resonate with you at some point?
Yeah, I think once I thought about that concept a little more, I liked it a lot better than like, I need to get rid of anxiety. It needs to leave.
Okay. And so instead of saying, get out of here, the door. Okay.
Instead, it's more like sitting down with your anxiety
yes.
and understanding it.
Right. Being open.
And feeling it. And like, because when you feel that anxiety, your first thing is like, I don't want to feel like this.
Right.
You know, I need it to leave.
Yeah.
So instead, you know, maybe just sit with it for a minute. Why am I feeling this?
Okay.
You know, and from there you can work on, you know, why is it happening? Mm-hmm. Are there changes happening?
Yes.
You know, there might be a logical reason as to why your body is feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling anxious.
For me, it was so much emphasis had been placed on managing this thing that's happening, opposed to realizing, guess what? I've done so well at managing it that I've actually become really capable. I actually thrive in chaotic situations.
Yeah, I definitely understand, and especially after therapy, I definitely understood better that even when things are crazy and they're chaotic, like I always get through it fine.
You do?
You know?
Yes.
But the therapy, I think, taught me that there are ways for me to feel better through the chaos with the anxiety.
Like while it's happening, it's okay to be.
Yeah, because even though I get through it, and I mean, the anxiety's still there, and the whole time I'm still fighting it. Okay. I'm like, you need to leave. And I make it through, but it's easier on me if I just like let it walk with me.
You know, I'm glad you distinguished that, sort of that anxiety just didn't vanish or evaporate.
Yeah.
It's this idea of part of me recognize it as I want to fight it, but there's another part of me that says I can walk along with it. Mm-hmm. That seems to be a balancing act. Does it feel that way? You have to balance those two.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Mm. Well, how do you know that therapy worked? You know, sort of where you started and versus now. It's been a while since I've seen you. How do you know therapy worked?
I have new tools in my toolbox.
Okay, say more. Well, wait a minute. You started with tools in the toolbox, so say more about that.
Well, they're different tools.
They're different tools.
It's a perspective. It's I don't know. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
Drawing a blank? Well, how about we just take a breath in on 3. 1, 2, 3. Inhale. And exhale. You know, I've always believed, keep breathing, that kindness is about being open to something or the space of it. And the only way, keep breathing. I can hear you. Keep breathing.
I'm a silent breather.
No, I like to hear it. Can you do it with me on 3? 1, 2, 3. Inhale. Good. It's the idea that when we're open to something, we can better understand it or get data from it. And so I guess what would be most helpful for people who are going to see this, who are still dealing with anxiety and still having very intense panic attacks, can you help them understand what's different between just counting down from 3 or just deep breathing, some of those hardcore tools, right? Because we know those work.
Yeah.
Versus what's different about sort of this tool or treasure chest now. What would you tell them is the difference between the two after therapy?
The difference between how I handle anxiety
before versus now.
And after.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the base is just being open to it and not treating it as a disease that you need to be cured from.
High five across the room. Is there any final words that you may want to say to me, or imagine there probably will be a little girl out there or other people that will see this video and is looking for a new way to manage anxiety. Is there anything that you would want to say to to her?
I mean, there's so many people that go through it, you know, and there's so many, I'll say, coping skills that so many different people use, and definitely use them all. But if people are hesitant about doing the therapy portion of maybe helping them with their anxiety, it's, you know, you can quit anytime. It's your choice.
Yes.
And if it's not for you, it's not for you. But there's only one way to find out.
And that is?
To go.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
right before you go, was doing the exercise counseling helpful for you in managing anxiety?
Yes, because I use it.
Wait.
I use it, I know.
what do you mean you use it? Tell me.
We have a gym at the apartment I live at, and we've started going to the gym, and I get on the treadmill, and I feel anxious. But I just do the ABC thing.
You do the ABC thing?
Backwards, only backwards.
Okay, you want to show the people how well you can do ABCs backwards?
No.
No, I didn't
think so. Yeah, but it's the whole idea of using a different part of the brain.
Yeah.
You know, to say your ABCs backwards, and walking and running uses different parts of the brain, and sort of it distracts it from having that emotional response.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see
that you're probably running more than me now. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's definitely about repetition though, and that doesn't just go for the exercise therapy portion of it. Also the breathing exercises and the kindness aspect of it. You can't just do it for one day or for one panic attack.
Right.
You've got to do it all the time, even when you're not anxious. So that when you are anxious, it's a lot easier for you to like slip into that and give your body permission.
Right, because there is another part of you that says, I want to be calm. I want to learn how to be with anxiety. And so to honor that part of you, then you must do a routine.
Yeah,
I get that.
It's a habit.
It has to be a lifestyle. It has to be a habit, and not just making anxiety this bad thing and we only go running, or we're only kind to the anxiety when it's happening.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah, that is the balance when you have openness and kindness inside. Okay. Well, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing with me how kindness has worked for you.
Yeah.
Until next time. This is Mainspring Counseling and Training Services, where we leverage kindness to help you find your mainspring.